next few minutes.
Awesome.
Not a new subject to you, though, I understand.
That's right. Been doing this for a little while.
Yeah?
Although new to HP.
New to HP.
Yeah.
So, what is HP Cloud OS? Why wouldn't people just work with the default OpenStack?
Yeah, it's a good question. We get asked a lot by our customers what Cloud OS is. So what you can think of it sort of like a typical operating system where we take a kernel from the community, OpenStack, and we make that operating system enterprise ready. So we test it, secure it, harden it, we run it at large scale on our own public cloud, and we make it a fully supported finished product that enterprises can adopt and run on their own.
Mm-hmm. So why is HP OpenStack, HPOS, a part of the strategy that you're advocating for customers?
Yeah, and that's a great question because it's hard to understand what Cloud OS is and why we're doing this thing until you understand the strategy. So for HP in total, our cloud strategy is hybrid. And what we mean by that is when customers come to us, they typically say, I want all the benefits of a public cloud, I want the self-service, the speed of delivery, the scale, the economics, right? But hey, I live in this harsh reality and I've got regulatory pressures and security and privacy concerns, reliability issues, and so I need a bridge to get from where I'm at today to where I want to be in the future. And to do that, you need a common platform in your own existing private cloud environment and any other delivery models you may want to have, be it public, or it could even be multiple data centers you have within an enterprise. And you need a platform that you can take your apps and workloads and run them wherever you need to run them, and it's going to run and behave the same way. So to build a true hybrid solution, we need to have that common architecture and common platform in all these different locations where clouds can run. And that's why we're building Cloud OS. It is that common architecture and common platform. Now for me, because I used to run product management for Windows Azure, I'm pretty familiar with what it takes to build an infrastructure for a large distributed system. And when we looked at OpenStack and the growth of OpenStack, it's the fastest growing open source project in history. Faster than Linux, faster than Apache, it's the fastest growing project, and the rate of innovation that's happening with OpenStack is pretty phenomenal. So we wanted to give customers that great innovation, but also help protect them from that bleeding edge of the razor, right? Because most enterprises don't want to live right on the bleeding edge.
What are people most scared of in the implementation? What factor really it consumes them, and maybe disproportionately so?
Yeah, really good question. So that what I said is all great, but there's some still issues that exist today. OpenStack is powerful, but it does take a fair amount of assembly to bring it together. OpenStack is really a collection of projects together. There's a storage and compute and identity and a variety of different projects that come together to become that base platform. So a lot of the work that we do is how do you make it easy to install, configure, and deploy, and remove or abstract at least some of that complexity from just the configuration installation. That's one of them. The other big concern that customers have is around the ecosystem. Is it mature enough? Is it certified on all these servers out here on the show floor? What apps are certified to run on this thing? Are there any services and support? Like if this thing goes down, who can I call?
Well, and they have to integrate with their existing hardware, with their existing processes, as well as the hardware and apps that they have.
Right, and any data point you look at from all the analyst firms, by 2016, 2017, there's still, the majority of cloud is still on-premise. And those existing systems are not moving anywhere quickly. So that integration work is non-trivial. It's not magic. There's not a magic tool that will just make it all integrate together. So they're looking for the whole picture, not just the bits of OpenStack. So that's great from an infrastructure as a service perspective, but their question is how does it integrate with my management software, my operations process, my network operations center, my security, my all those issues that they come up with.
Do people at the operational level, I can understand how people would be very concerned about it.
Yeah.
But do at higher levels, do people just kind of gloss over it and assume that it'll get fixed?
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw that a lot in the public cloud adoption early on,
that's
right?
where I was headed.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So people went quickly, and you hear this word often, shadow IT or rogue IT, where this on-demand IT, where all of a sudden applications were sprouting up on Amazon or Azure or Google or wherever, and then CIOs would sit back and say, well, wait a minute, that app has critical, sensitive data of our customers or our business. And I need to get that under control. I may still want to deploy to that public cloud, but I have to at least control it. It has to be part of my policies. So the idea of the technology alone just isn't sufficient anymore as people think about the cloud. I met with a customer this morning, a large bank, and they were saying, listen, it's a two-part problem. I need to talk to you about your products and your technology and the operational model. I can't only do one because I won't get the value out of it if I have an old school operational model with a new cloud architecture, and I can't have a new operation model and an old IT. Like, they got to come together. So a lot of what we bring to customers isn't just Cloud OS, but it's those professional services that will help them integrate. It's the software above it that will show them a single pane of glass for all the different cloud assets they have, because that's the cold light of day reality that the CIOs need to have is the entire picture, not just the bits.
Yeah. How does the changing regulatory environment, I mean, obviously from a privacy standpoint, data has to be protected in one way in one geography and in another way differently. How does the overall management system enable you to track that?
That's great, yeah, and it's particularly poignant here in Europe. Yeah. That subject is very, very important. And if you look at a hybrid app architecture today, take your mobile phone. A mobile phone app is typically, accessing services through a cloud, but usually going back to existing on-premise systems, databases, or what's often called systems of record, right? Yes. Where you have classic systems that have customer data or financial data. So those typically don't move, but you want to get the scale and the economics of a public cloud for the application backend, for the mobile application backend. So what we're doing is with Cloud System, which is our flagship product that will be shipping with Cloud OS in the first half of 2014, we're enabling customers to have that single management interface to say, I can see my on-premise clouds, my public clouds, maybe they're managed by us through enterprise services or another third party. They'll be able to see all those assets together and then apply policy to those to say, this app, that data needs to stay right here. And I can monitor and manage that and see that both from a command line or visually through a portal and see all those clouds interoperating together. So when we say hybrid cloud management, you have to be able to not only see the clouds, you have to be able to act upon them and set policy around them so that if you have data constraints or data sovereignty issues, and you want to have maybe a mobile app running in a public cloud, but the data has to live within a geography, very common scenario here with European customers, you need to be able to control that and see it all together and when things may violate that policy.
How can people check this out? How can they begin to evaluate HP's Cloud OS?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the easiest resource is hpcloud.com, where you can learn about what Cloud OS is. We can also access a beta of our technology where someone wants to just download it and play with it and experiment with it and understand how does it work, what's the management look like, how does it use OpenStack. A lot of what I tell people originally is spend some time understanding OpenStack first, because there's a pretty wide set of names. They all have these very cool open source names like Nova and Cinder and Swift, and you need to understand a little bit the language. And as you get into it, then experiment and playing with Cloud OS is a great first step. You can download it for free today and start playing with it on your own. And of course, as we start rolling out new product lines, both from other HP products like Moonshot or our management software, you'll see Cloud OS also come through with those products as well. And we have a pretty large demand from our own HP colleagues saying, hey, we want to ship with OpenStack. We want to ship the enterprise class version of that. How do we work with you guys to get Cloud OS on our server or storage or networking, whatever it may be? So you'll see it coming out quite a bit across HP.
Okay, well, Bill, you've given us an excellent overview of HP's Cloud OS. Thanks very much for
it's been a pleasure to be
here. Here today. Thanks to you folks for watching us here as well. Our coverage continues of HP Discover from Barcelona.